Good Tuesday morning on this September 9th. Thanks for tuning in. We've got some folks there. Good morning to you, Jenna, Gwen. Thanks for tuning in. We do this each weekday at 8:30, and we're at 8:30. So here we are. Mitch and Casey will be along in a moment. I'll turn my volume down, which I thought I did earlier, but let's take two on the volume. All right, we'll start with the pollen counts. They are trading in the medium to high range. Ragweed, of course, is high, along with some of the grasses out there. Of course, we've got the advent of the harvest season. Some of the corn and soybeans are out. So here's the category that we're in, kind of medium to high. We could cleanse the atmosphere with a little rain, but none in sight. Nothing on Doppler radar, fairly quiet. All the flooding issues were in Kansas and Wichita yesterday, but everybody was all right. Eastern Kansas there up towards Topeka and out into the Kansas cities there, they're seeing some rain. Otherwise, a pretty quiet map. I haven't done this in a while. Let's run the coffee cast. Maybe you're having your second or third cup. We used chili out here this morning, so I love running the coffee cast. So we'll call it chili. We bottomed out at the airport at 49 this morning. We're currently at 57 degrees. That's still underneath the average. Our average low has dropped to 61. The last 16, 17 mornings, all of them have been below normal. And we'll do it again tomorrow morning. 100 in 1939. I'll take this full. That's the year the Wizard of Oz came out. And we finished that month with the high and low 7 degrees above normal. And a pair of fours in 1986. But that month in September, we did finish above normal. It did heat up at times back in 1986. Here's a look at the scorecard. We talked about this on 14 News Sunrise. We've had 5 days in a row. All of them have been below 80, 78 or lower. We haven't hit 90 this month, but that's about to change. Leslie Chapman, 14 News. She'll be in here soon. Getting a little of our morning weather and news. Does a great job reporting for us. And Vicki, good morning to you. 7,700s in the rain gauge so far this month. In the muggy meter, the dew points dropped as low as 47 this morning. We were talking about a month ago, about 3.5 weeks ago, we had dew points during the stream up as high as 75. Indy at 57, Chicago at 57. The Bears didn't look good there in the last quarter. Mitch, they gave that game away? Mitch? Okay. The Bears. All right. All right, we'll get them next week. 63 there in Nashville. I watched the first quarter. That was about all because I get up so early. Clouds, scattered clouds at 20 to 25,000 feet. And here are the trends. These are the 6, 10-day outlooks, even the 14-day outlooks. We have a pattern change. We're going to be trending above normal. So we're going to see the heat really build in here late this week and then into next week. Next Monday, we could go as high as 95. So if you kept your pool open, you're sitting in pretty good shape with a pretty good hand there. And we're going to be trending drier than average. We've talked about the burn bands that we checked across the area. Norris City and those areas and those fire zones, those are the lone burn bands right now. Those will be increasing. We have moderate drought-like conditions through a good portion of the area. Abnormally dry for the areas north there of Interstate 64. So let's graph the temps. We talked about our average highs at 84. We'll trade just below that as we go into the afternoon. The humidity values, I don't have a graphic for this, will be at 25 to 30%. So almost what you would see out in the desert regions. All right, I'm going to zip this along here. If we go through our Tuesday, a few clouds. Most of the high-level clouds would be across southern Illinois. Wednesday, I put in a 1 in 10 chance of a sprinkle or two, mainly early, and this takes us into the afternoon, Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night. And then the long-range forecast will have a shot at 90 on Thursday. I put temperatures at 90. And we talked about this pattern change as we take this full. Friday at 90, 94 Saturday, and a 93 on Sunday. Look, I checked the heat index forecast for Saturday and Sunday. It's pretty much going to match the temperature at 94 and 93. And there we talked about it on Monday at 95, so the heat's going to be rolling as we go into next week, and those low temperatures will come up. I want to emphasize it's not the heat and humidity you'd have in the middle of summertime, because those lows still cooling off nicely in the 60s. All right, Mitch and Casey will be along with the news. Let you know if there's any lottery winners out there. We'll do that in a moment.
Stay informed on your local news and weather throughout the day by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows. At 8:30 a.m., get your First Alert forecast to plan the day ahead and catch up on the news that happened overnight with the 14 News Sunrise team. In the afternoon, get the latest headlines, forecasts, and a preview of the stories we're working on with the 14 First Alert streaming show at 2:30. And get an in-depth look at the 14 First Alert forecast so you're ready for the next big thing with the 14 First Alert weather show at 9 p.m. Watch the 14 First Alert streaming show that fits your schedule and works best for you. Streaming on your phone by downloading the 14 News app and the 14 First Alert weather app. On your smart TV by using the 14 News streaming app. And stream anytime on Facebook, YouTube, or on 14news.com. Stay connected and stay informed by watching the 14 First Alert streaming shows on your favorite streaming devices.
Well, good morning, and thanks for joining us here for the news portion of your 8:30 stream show on our Tuesday, September 9th. I'm Mitch Carter.
That's right. I'm Casey Mason. We appreciate you hanging out with us here for the news portion of our stream show. As you said, we kick things off with weather, of course. Byron Douglas breaking everything down for us. And now Mitch and I are going to recap some headlines. You know, sometimes with a streaming show, we bring you some, lighthearted content to talk a little coffee talk, if you will, with you. But we obviously have some a big headline here in the Tri-State going on this week. So we're going to continue our coverage of what happened at this weekend's chemical fire over there in the Newburgh manufacturing facility. So as we've been telling you, this happened over in Warwick County, and we've been following this developing story. It happened Saturday at PBTT on Van Road. And, firefighters, they learned that there were hazardous chemicals outside of the building on fire there. So a shelter in place was issued for the surrounding area. Of course, lots of folks concerned. How is this affecting us? Crews say the fire was out in about 12 hours, and then the shelter in place was lifted. Right. But right now, though, fire crews and the EPA are just assessing both the damage and all that harmful ash out there.
Yeah, officials say the main chemicals involved in that fire were combustible metals such as magnesium, aluminum, and zinc. They say those chemicals could be harmful to the touch. At this time, the environmental impact of that fire, though, still being investigated.
Yeah, and just to recap here, crews are still investigating what exactly burned, how it's going to impact the community. As we said, lots of questions remaining. We're doing our best to keep you guys up to date. Meanwhile, if there is any ash or debris on your property, what you're going to need to do is report it to the EPA. Local doctors are also just advising you to keep an eye on your health, especially any respiratory troubles, any skin burns. Big update here for folks as well is just about the water situation. We know a lot of people have wondered, is my water safe to use? More importantly, is it safe to drink?
Right. Well, local water companies saying the water coming into your home, check that, is currently safe to drink and use. The only place dealing with contamination right now is Van Park Pond, which is self-contained there. So that's good news, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, been recapping all this information for you there. Another thing we thought would be interesting to kind of let folks know about is just the kind of the medical perspective on this. So we did talk with Deaconess Hospital, and when we spoke with Deaconess officials, they say that there's been an influx of calls into their ER. They say it's from people who say that they are concerned, of course, for their health right now because of the chemicals that were released in this fire. And officials are saying that the cases that they've treated over the last 2 days are mainly with patients that have already had some of those underlying pre-existing issues, such as, COPD or like asthma or anything related in that form. Health department leaders are still determining how hazardous this ash is, but they say it is testing right now at a high pH level. So Dr. Matthew Gilbert with Deaconess says that it can cause severe chemical burns and even some tissue damage. He says if the ash touches your skin, you'll want to get that cleaned up and as soon as possible here.
The main things to keep an eye out for are either respiratory issues or skin issues, because chemical burns like this mostly affect it when you breathe it in or if it gets on exposed skin. Step one is always decontaminate yourself, because with caustic chemicals, it causes a burn. So if you notice anything on you, just make sure you clean it off real good. That's the first step no matter what.
Dr. Gilbert says mild burns on your skin can be treated at urgent care. However, if you're having severe breathing troubles, you need to call 911 or simply go to the nearest ER.
Yeah, so lots of information that we just kind of threw your way there. Of course, good reminder, you can download that 14 News app anytime you need to stay up to date. You can get that for absolutely free. You can, we post the QR code there during our live newscast, but you can also just go to your app store and download 14 News app. Again, absolutely free. We're doing our best to keep you updated. Lots of details still emerging, and we still have a lot more to keep you guys updated on as we find out more information.
Yeah, and switching gears here a bit, away from the chemical fire happening today in Henderson, a major traffic alert I've been warning you about was going to begin on the southbound Twin Bridge. Officials saying this will bring the bridge down to one lane for the next week. Got a live look here. You can see some of that video here from that bridge, and we've seen a couple of calm warnings here before work begins, but we do know KYTC leaders say that work is to inspect and test the steel used to build that bridge. That work will happen nightly through Saturday, October 18th, with crews scheduled to be out there from 6 in the evening to 7 o'clock in the morning. And if needed, officials say they will adjust those closure times. However, there are currently no plans to alter traffic on the northbound bridge like we saw last time they were out there doing that similar kind of work.
Definitely. Of course, just some headlines we wanted to pull and recap for you guys today here. Check my phone's over here. I'll check the comments over on YouTube. I think we're good to go for today. Over on Facebook, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Of course, there will be another stream show at 2:30. I'll see you guys for 14 News at 11 and First Alert at noon. I'm sure we'll have more details, more developments, and we're doing our best to just let you guys know the information as soon as we can.
Absolutely. Right now here it is 8:41, coming up on 8:42. Please go out there and enjoy this more fall-like weather as we warm up as the day goes on here before we reach back in potentially the 90s next week.
That's wild.
We'll
they
see.
called this the fake fall, I think is what this was. A little wave of our fake fall, then we'll have a little bit of summer, and then it's going to get cold.
Perfect.
So at least that's what my Facebook post said.
Yeah, same here. Right now, like
No
I said, coming
meteorologist.
up on 8:42. Please enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. We'll see you back here bright and early tomorrow.
See
Take
you
care.
guys.